what she thinks when you don't chase her. Old Stoic wisdom. Have you ever stopped chasing her? Not out of frustration, not as a mind game, but because something deep within you told you to simply stop? And when you did, her response was different. Suddenly, she acted in ways you hadn't expected. For many women, being chased is the norm. They've grown accustomed to a man's pursuit, his eagerness to prove his worth, to chase after her, and to constantly engage. But when you stop, when you take a step back, remain calm, composed, and quiet, a subtle yet powerful shift occurs, not just in her perception of you, but within herself. In this exploration, we delve into the powerful dynamics of what truly goes through her mind when you stop chasing her. We'll explore how your stillness, grounded in self-respect and the calm wisdom of Stoicism, speaks far more profoundly than any frantic attempt to win her over. As the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injustice." In a world where constant chasing and proving are the norms, sometimes the greatest power lies in simply remaining grounded in who you are. Let's explore why sometimes saying nothing speaks volumes. Number 1. Wait, he's not reacting. When you don't chase her, she's left wondering what's happening. At first, it throws her off balance. She's used to the barrage of texts, the last-minute "I miss you" messages, the emotional chaos that often accompanies a man's desire for validation. But you didn't do any of that. You stayed silent, calm, composed. You didn't react, not because you didn't care, but because you've evolved past emotional impulses. This is the power of old Stoic wisdom at work, an iron mind that remains steadfast in the face of emotional turbulence. And trust me, that silence speaks louder than any grand gesture or rushed message you could have sent. It leaves her with one overwhelming thought. Wait, he's not reacting. The initial confusion gives way to something deeper. She was expecting a chase, the typical back and forth, the emotional tug of war. But your restraint, it's unnerving in the best way possible. It makes her question everything. Did I misread him? Did I push too far? With each passing moment, her sense of control slips. The energy she was sure she held over you now begins to waver. It's a shift she didn't anticipate, and it forces her into self-reflection. You didn't chase her, and that's when the real power kicks in. In a world that demands constant validation, a man who remains silent, grounded, and unmoved is a mystery, and that mystery is magnetic. The beauty of Stoic principles lies in their simplicity. You don't need to explain yourself, justify your worth, or prove anything to anyone. Your peace, your inner order, is non-negotiable. When you resist the urge to chase her or explain yourself, you don't do so to manipulate the situation. You do it because your self-respect outweighs the need to get caught up in emotional drama. That is strength in its purest form. A Stoic man doesn't let his emotions control him, he controls them. Imagine this. One man I know received a message from a woman trying to provoke him subtly. Instead of reacting, he took a walk, centered himself, and reminded himself, I don't need to explain my worth. That's a man operating with clarity, not chaos. So when she notices your lack of reaction and starts to question, why isn't he chasing me like the others? It's not just about you not playing the game, it's about your refusal to let her assumptions define your actions. The power in not chasing lies in creating uncertainty. She thought she had your attention, but now that certainty is gone. That uncertainty, it's everything. Because when a man values himself, his absence of chaos becomes an anchor. Let her feel that, not out of bitterness, but because you've learned the most important lesson. You're not here to chase approval or validation. You're here to protect your peace, and that's what she'll be thinking about long after the silence has settled. In that stillness, you've already won. Number 2. Did I misread his interest? Now she's second-guessing everything. The conversations, the chemistry, the connection. Was it real? Your distance forces her to replay everything, searching for the moment when things shifted. What changed? Where did it go wrong? Meanwhile, you stay composed, still, and unflinching. You're not in this for constant reassurance. You're not seeking validation. You're looking for something real or nothing at all. That's it. And that clarity of purpose sends a powerful message. You see, most men rush in. They try to explain too much, overcompensate, chase. They think if they can just fill the space, if they can undo the distance, everything will be okay. But when you don't chase, you're doing something far more powerful. You're saying, I don't need to convince you of my worth. I've already shown up with sincerity. If you doubt that, that's on you. You've removed the pressure to perform. No games, just reality. And that, my friend, sends a message far louder than words ever could. Suddenly, everything she once believed about your connection feels uncertain. Not because you played some game, but because you didn't. You stopped proving and started observing. Your stillness puts her in a position where she has to confront her own feelings. And that's exactly where the magic happens. Maybe she expected a text after a cold reply. Maybe she thought you'd double down when she pulled back. But you didn't. You let her feel the absence. And that's when the wheels start turning in her mind. Was he just being polite? Was it never that deep for him? She begins to scroll through old messages, searching for clues in every pause, every emoji, every slight shift in tone. She's looking for a sign, but the only sign she gets is your calm withdrawal. That's where the Stoic rules kick in. You don't flinch at rejection. You don't panic in the face of uncertainty. You respect your emotions, but you're not ruled by them. You hold your ground. And that, my friend, unnerves her. Why? Because she's used to seeing men react emotionally. She's used to men who panic, who over-explain, who bend and twist themselves in knots trying to fix things. But here you are, standing tall in your stillness, unbothered by the confusion or the absence. It's a quiet strength, and it's rare. It's what practical Stoicism is all about. It's about being unmoved by the chaos and finding peace in your own steady presence. The irony? Your stillness creates more movement in her mind than any words or gestures ever could. When you stop chasing, she starts thinking, not about games, not about who has the power, but about why you were able to walk away with such ease. She starts wondering, why didn't he chase me? What does that say about what we had? And in that moment, she begins to question everything, not about you, but about herself. Maybe she misread the connection. Maybe it wasn't as certain as she once thought. This is where the paths of wisdom lead, to the realization that sometimes the best thing you can do is simply step back, be still, and let her come to her own conclusions. You don't need to chase. You don't need to prove anything. In fact, your strength is in the silence. It's a lesson in Stoicism that speaks louder than anything you could say. If you found value in this, comment below and share it with someone who could benefit from this wisdom. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights. Comment to remember. I stand strong in my stillness, knowing my worth. Number 3. He must be talking to someone else. When you stop chasing, the effect is immediate and profound. It creates a ripple of uncertainty, and her mind starts racing. She wonders, has he found someone better? Is he moving on faster than I thought? But here's the truth. You're not chasing anyone. You're focused on yourself, on your growth, your peace, and your direction. This is true strength, the kind that is rooted in the timeless wisdom of Epictetus, who taught us that wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. You're no longer chasing her attention because you've learned that the only person worth chasing is the man you're becoming. At first, she may brush it off. She'll tell herself you're just busy. But as days pass and the consistent gestures you once offered begin to fade, she starts to feel the shift. The texts, the check-ins, the little signs of affection, these vanish. That's when the anxiety creeps in. Is he seeing someone else? She'll wonder. Did he just replace me that quickly? In her mind, that's the only explanation for your sudden calm. But she doesn't understand the real reason. Your stillness is not about someone else. It's about the man you've become, a man who knows that to chase what doesn't value him is beneath his dignity. You're no longer playing games. You're not withdrawing out of anger or resentment. You're simply refusing to chase what isn't worthy of your energy. This is where Stoicism comes into play. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." A Stoic man doesn't act based on emotions or fleeting desires. He acts on principles. He understands that being needed isn't the same as being respected. When your presence is no longer valued, the most powerful thing you can do is to step back, not in bitterness, but with a quiet, composed detachment. And in that silence, you begin to reclaim your power. Consider a real-world example. A friend of mine was talking to a woman who gradually became distant. Her messages grew shorter, her interest waned, and her energy became passive. Instead of confronting her, begging for her attention, or falling into the trap of chasing her, he simply matched her energy. He didn't ghost her, but he didn't overextend himself either. He focused on his own life, his business, his fitness, his personal growth. 2 weeks later, she reached out with a message that said, "I guess you found someone else who gives you more attention." The irony? He wasn't thinking about anyone else. He was simply reclaiming his peace, and in doing so, he showed her something profound. His absence didn't mean he had replaced her. It meant he had redefined his own value. He was no longer the man who chases. And that unsettled her in a way nothing else could. That's the twist. When you stop chasing, she doesn't just think you're busy. She begins to believe you've moved on. And that belief stirs an anxious tension in her mind, one that no explanation can dispel. This is what makes your stillness so powerful. It reflects the inner calm she may not be ready to face. Your absence isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of self-respect. As Epictetus wisely stated, "No man is free who is not master of himself." The calm you maintain shows her that you were never desperate for her approval. You were always present, but now that you're no longer offering that presence on demand, she realizes how valuable it truly was. So, if you find yourself wondering whether pulling back was the right choice, trust that it was. You're not punishing her, you're preserving yourself. In a world that glorifies instant replies and constant validation, your self-discipline stands as a beacon of strength. Even if she doesn't say it outright, her curiosity, her sudden interest in your social media, and the silence she keeps around you speak volumes. You're not talking to someone else, but in her mind, that possibility looms large, and that's what makes your stillness unforgettable. The quiet confidence you exude, rooted in the Stoic wisdom of self-mastery, is what sets you apart. In the end, you will win, not by chasing, but by mastering yourself. Number 4. Why isn't he trying to fix it? When a man stops chasing, it speaks volumes, and it's something most women don't expect. She might have been waiting for you to reach out, apologize, or ask what went wrong, but you didn't. Not because you don't care, but because you've learned the value of not clinging to something or someone who doesn't appreciate you. You're no longer desperate to please, to perform, or to win her approval. You've learned the wisdom of the Stoics. You let go with dignity. Like an iron mind, you protect your peace. And this is where things shift, because women are conditioned to expect men to apologize, to grovel, to rush in and fix things, even when they were the ones in the wrong. But not you. You didn't offer the familiar comfort of running after her, showing you'd fight for her no matter how she treated you. You let it be. This is what makes her wonder. Why isn't he trying to fix it? And that's where the magic happens. The absence of effort from you makes her realize what she's truly lost. Real strength, as Stoic principles teach, isn't about loud gestures or desperate attempts to prove yourself. It's calm, still, unmoved. The real test of a man's character comes when things don't go his way. It's about knowing when to walk away and not force your way back into someone's life just to feel validated. You don't need anyone's approval to be worthy. Your worth is in how you carry yourself, in your response to life's challenges. In your silence, you're not playing a game or acting out of spite. You've simply chosen yourself. Embrace the Stoic wisdom of not being emotionally available to someone who disrespects you. It's a decision to protect your own peace, to stop rescuing others from their own consequences. She might scroll through old messages, waiting for a text that never arrives. She'll wonder why you haven't tried to fix what's broken, why you didn't step in to save the day. The truth is, it's no longer your responsibility to fix something that broke your spirit. You've stepped back, not out of anger, but with the clarity that you're not about to waste your energy on people or situations that drain you. And that silence you've chosen? It's profound. She might not understand it at first, but she will feel it. Your silence isn't just empty, it carries weight. It speaks of respect for yourself and an understanding of your own value. When you chose not to chase her, what you really did was fix yourself, restore your peace, and reinforce your self-worth. And while she may wonder if you're thinking about her, the truth is she's the one wondering, because your absence isn't just a void, it's a statement of strength. It's not a punishment, it's self-preservation. Stoic wisdom teaches us to train our emotions, not to be ruled by them. And in your choice to stop chasing, you've mastered the art of emotional discipline. You've stopped reacting to her behaviour, and in doing so, you've gained control over your own life. Your silence in this situation is not weakness, it is power. And in a world full of noise, your quiet confidence leaves an impression that is impossible to ignore. If you've reached this point, you're already embracing the power of Stoic wisdom, strength in silence, peace in your own company. Now, it's time to declare your mastery of emotional discipline. Comment below with, "I choose peace over approval," and show the world that you are no longer bound by the need for validation. Number 5. Was I just temporary? In the silence of your absence, she's left wondering, why was it so easy for you to walk away? What did she miss? But let's be clear, it wasn't easy. It was necessary. You didn't leave because you didn't care. You left because you reached a point where your peace became more important than proving your worth to someone who couldn't see it. This is where you start to understand the essence of Stoic rules. Stoicism teaches us to control what we can, and that includes how much energy we give away. When a man finally grasps that his energy is sacred, his time valuable, he stops giving it to people who show up only halfway. In the end, the absence of effort becomes the loudest statement. She might think you vanished to make her miss you, but it wasn't a game. It wasn't a tactic. It was clarity. It was a decision, made not from bitterness, but from stillness. You didn't ghost her out of spite. You simply stopped showing up where the effort felt one-sided. In this moment of stillness, your energy shifts in a way louder than any words. You didn't send paragraphs, begging for explanations or apologies. You didn't chase after her. You simply stepped back. In that step, you communicated everything you needed to without saying a word. And that, my friend, is a path of wisdom most will never understand. The irony of non-attachment. We live in a world where men are told to pursue, to prove, to fix what's broken. We're conditioned to believe that love is a constant chase, that we must keep proving ourselves, or else we'll lose the prize. But here's the paradox. There's a quiet power in restraint. There's wisdom in knowing when to walk away, to recognize that something no longer aligns with your values. This, my friend, is practical stoicism. Not detachment from emotion, but control over reaction. You didn't let your feelings lead you into desperation. Instead, you allowed reason to lead you into self-respect. You honored yourself, your time, and your peace. That's the strength of Stoic principles in action, when you become the prize. And let's be honest here. She didn't expect this. She didn't expect you to walk away. Most people can't imagine love without a chase, without that constant back and forth, without a dance of pursuit. But you show that love isn't always about holding on. Sometimes it's about knowing when to let go. She might smile on the outside, act unfazed, pretend she's moved on. But deep down, the question lingers. Was I just temporary to him? The irony is, you were never the one treating her as a temporary option. But now, with your absence, she's forced to confront a truth she wasn't prepared for. The truth that maybe you weren't the one trying to prove your worth. Maybe, just maybe, you were the prize all along. And she only realized that when you stopped showing up. The Stoic principle of letting go. This isn't about playing games. It's about living by a principle, one that's anchored in the wisdom of Stoic teachings. If love requires you to lose yourself, it's not worth keeping. And let's be clear, you don't chase what walks away from peace. No, you become peace. You walk like a man who knows what he brings to the table. And if she couldn't see that, then your silence isn't rejection. It's revelation. It's a message she never expected to hear, but one she desperately needed. Your presence is a privilege, not a right. In a world full of games and empty gestures, true power lies in standing still and letting your absence speak for you. When you embrace the practical stoicism that allows you to know your worth without needing validation, you become a man who is in control. You don't chase, you attract. And in the end, if she couldn't see that, then it's her loss. And she'll come to know that truth when she faces the quiet power you left behind. Number 6. Maybe he's too confident. When you don't chase her, she notices. She sees your calm, unshaken demeanor, the quiet confidence that runs through your veins. You're not scrambling for validation. You're simply living, building, and focused. You're not arrogant, but anchored. That stillness, that unspoken power, sends a message louder than words ever could. And that unnerves her. Most men, when a woman pulls away, chase harder. They double down, over-explain, and try to win her back with frantic gestures or desperate acts. But you don't. You don't panic. You don't send late-night messages or try to fix the tension with words. Instead, you sit in peace, knowing that you don't need to chase something that isn't coming towards you freely. Your silence isn't pride, it's self-awareness. Epictetus, the Stoic sage, said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." Your response is within your control, and you've chosen not to chase. You let your presence or absence do the talking. You've understood that chasing someone who isn't matching your energy is a betrayal of your own self-respect. You won't beg for validation. You won't chase what isn't offered. You're grounded. You're focused on your own mission, your own path, and your own growth. And that's what makes you different. It's not that you don't care. You just care more about your own peace than about clinging to someone who's uncertain about you. That's what true confidence is. A steady self-assurance that is built not on words, but on actions. It's about living your truth, embracing your purpose, and moving forward with determination, without needing external affirmation. She starts to question, maybe he's too confident, but what she's really witnessing is a man who values himself. A man who fears nothing, not even the possibility of loss, because he never begs for what isn't given freely. And that's what makes him a winner. That is Stoicism in action. That is how you win, not just in relationships, but in life. When you stand firm in your values, when you refuse to chase what isn't yours, the world takes notice, and she will too. In the noise of a world that praises attention-seeking, your quiet strength becomes magnetic. It's not about being mysterious. It's about knowing who you are, standing in your truth, and letting that be enough. You've chosen to live as a Stoic, to embrace what Epictetus teaches. True power comes from within. You don't need to chase her. You've already won. If you found value in this video, comment below and share it with someone who could benefit. Don't forget to subscribe for more wisdom on mastering self-confidence and personal growth. Comment to remember, I am grounded in my value and my own mission. This statement will help you internalize the quiet confidence of not chasing what isn't freely given and maintaining your peace regardless of external situations. Let me know how this resonates with you. Number 7. I thought I had the power. Suddenly, she realizes she miscalculated. You're not waiting on her. You're not orbiting her decisions. You're not performing for attention, hoping for approval. And that shift, it breaks her script. She was used to the chase. She expected men to pursue, explain, and prove their worth. She thought that if she pulled away, you'd come running back, desperate to win her over. But you didn't. You didn't cling, and you didn't react emotionally. Instead, you stayed grounded. You continued with your life, unshaken and steady, as if her approval wasn't your end goal. And this changes everything. It flips the entire dynamic. Now she's left wondering, did I overestimate my hold on him? Did she misread the situation? Misjudge your interest? Why? Because when you don't chase her, it's not just about the physical distance you create, it's about the signal you send. You sent a message loud and clear. You're not ruled by impulse. You don't hand over your power just because someone is beautiful or emotionally confusing. You've chosen to stay calm, to remain composed, and to not panic when she's unsure about you. And that's where the real power lies. It's no coincidence that this quiet strength is the core of Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoics, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." She was the outside event, and instead of reacting emotionally to her actions, you chose to stay in control of your own mind. You didn't get swept up in the drama. You didn't chase after her to prove you were worth her time. That, my friend, is practical Stoicism in action. Let me paint a picture for you. Think of a guy who used to text her good morning every single day, who would double text when she delayed replying, who'd decode every one of her moods, constantly trying to stay close. But one day he stops. It's not out of anger. It's not out of spite. It's simply because he saw the imbalance. And in his clarity, he quietly steps back. That silence, it's not empty, it's full of strength. It echoes in the absence of his attention. She'll notice, she'll feel it. That's when the power shifts. That's when she starts thinking, not because you chased her, but because you didn't. Don't get it twisted. This isn't about playing games or pretending you don't care. It's about being secure in who you are and not needing someone else's validation to define your worth. It's about living your life with confidence, unshaken by her moods or decisions. That's the true beauty of not chasing. When you stop chasing her, you give her space. Space to think. Space to feel. And sometimes that realization that you're not running after her is more powerful than anything you could have said. She might be left with the question, did I let this slip away because I didn't realize his worth? And that, my friend, is the lesson. The lesson of Stoic rules and the power of detached wisdom. You must understand that the key to true confidence isn't in winning someone over, but in staying true to your path, unaffected by external distractions. So, remember this. When you don't chase, you don't just create distance. You send a message that you're a man of principles, a man who follows the paths of wisdom, and a man who won't give up his power for anyone, no matter how much they might try to make you feel otherwise. Number 8. What is he thinking right now? What is she thinking when you don't chase her? While you move forward, she stays stuck in a spiral of overthinking. She wonders if you miss her, if you feel anything at all. But the truth is, you've mastered something powerful, the art of emotional discipline. While she spirals, you stay still. And that stillness? It's magnetic. It draws her in. When a man doesn't chase, when he doesn't fold under emotional pressure, it disrupts everything she thought she knew about relationships. Most men would have folded by now. Most would have texted, reached out, tried to explain, or even begged for clarity. But not you. And it's not because you're cold, it's because you've reached a place where peace matters more than persuasion. You're no longer in the business of convincing someone to care. And that, my friend, is where Stoicism comes in. Stoicism isn't about being indifferent or cold. It's about knowing what deserves your energy and what simply drains it. By practicing the Stoic rules, you've chosen to conserve your emotional power for things that matter. You've learned the paths of wisdom, where you protect your mental space and keep your standards high. So what's she thinking? She's replaying everything. Your last conversation, the tone in your voice, even the way you looked at her. She's trying to figure out if she misread your detachment as disinterest or if it was something deeper. The more quiet you are, the louder her thoughts become. Was he really indifferent? Did I mean that little? Or is he hiding how much he's hurting? But here's the truth. You're not hiding anything. You're not waiting for her to reach out. You're not playing games. You've simply withdrawn from the chaos of emotional turbulence and returned to your center. You've redirected that energy inward, focusing on your own growth, protecting your peace, and strengthening your sense of self. Not every connection is meant to be pursued. You know that now. When she starts to sense that you've accepted the outcome, without bitterness, without resentment, that's when the uncertainty hits her. The more you stand firm in your calm, the more she'll question everything. Imagine this. She's sitting there, checking her phone over and over again, hoping for your name to pop up. She scrolls through memories, searching for some sign that you're still emotionally invested. But all she finds is your absence and that unshakable calm you carry. It's not just silence, my friend. It's presence. It's the quiet strength of a man who doesn't need to beg for attention, but instead leaves a powerful, lingering impression. This is the moment when she starts thinking, how is he so composed? You're no longer the man chasing after uncertainty. You've made the rare decision to walk with dignity, to be a man of your word, your principles, your peace. And that kind of strength, it doesn't scream. It resonates. It echoes. That's the true power of practical stoicism in action, standing firm in your self-worth and letting everything else fall into place naturally. You've learned the paths of wisdom, and now you're living them out in real time. No chasing, no begging, just presence. And that presence, as silent as it may seem, speaks volumes. And if you find today's content very interesting, please give me a word of encouragement by commenting "very interesting" in the comment section. That is a huge motivation for us. Thank you. Number 9. Should I reach out first? Stop chasing. That's it. No tricks, no games. This is where you flip the dynamic, but not through manipulation. No, you do it through genuine detachment. When you choose to step back, not out of anger or frustration, but to return to your center, you create an imbalance. She feels it deeply. That space you've left? It's not just empty air, it's charged. It speaks volumes in its silence. You didn't go quiet to provoke her. You didn't go silent to play some clever game. You went silent to find your peace. And now she feels the weight of your absence. That's when she starts questioning everything. What changed? Why isn't he reaching out? At first, she might tell herself that you're just busy or distracted. But as time goes on, your calm, composed, and unbothered silence becomes louder than any words you could have said. This isn't passive-aggressive behavior. This is presence. Your presence, redirected inward. And that is exactly where Stoicism thrives. The ancient wisdom of Stoicism teaches us not to be ruled by impulse, by reaction, or by the need to chase after what's slipping away. You didn't need to make a grand announcement or a public proclamation. You simply stopped showing up in places where you no longer felt seen, where your value wasn't recognized. That's all. You made a choice, and that choice was powerful. Now she's wondering, was I wrong to pull away? Did I expect him to chase me like every other guy? The questions start rolling in. She begins to replay the last few interactions, searching for something, anything, that could explain why you stopped pursuing. But the truth is, your absence says everything. You're not reaching out because you're punishing her. No, you're simply reclaiming your dignity. You've realized that your worth doesn't need constant validation from anyone, least of all someone who's uncertain about you. That's a shift few people are ready for. It's rare. So rare, in fact, that it catches her off guard. Think about it for a second. How often does a man choose peace over the urge to prove himself? How often does someone step back? Not out of pride or ego, but out of clarity. Not often, right? That's what makes you different. You showed her something she wasn't prepared for. You responded with nothing because you realized that not everything deserves your energy. And that, my friend, is Stoic discipline in real time. Seneca nailed it when he said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Chasing someone who's unsure about you? That's time wasted." And now, as you continue to focus inward and not outward, the roles have reversed. She feels it. She feels the shift. It's not because you played a trick or pulled a fast one. No, you stopped playing altogether. You stopped chasing, and that's the game changer. She feels the silence. She feels your absence. And in the quiet, a new question begins to grow inside her. Should I reach out first? That, my friend, is the moment when you've changed the rhythm. And you did it without raising your voice. You didn't need to. Your presence, or lack thereof, did all the talking. This is the practical stoicism you must embrace. The Stoic rules say that in moments like these, silence speaks louder than any words, and you, by not chasing, have chosen the path of wisdom. You've learned that your worth is not tied to someone else's actions, that true strength comes from detachment, and that your time is too valuable to spend chasing someone who isn't sure of you. That is the true power of Stoic discipline, not reacting, but holding steady. Hey, thank you so much for watching. I really hope this message resonated with you. Remember, it's not about playing games or trying to manipulate. It's about standing firm in your own peace. When you don't chase, you give her the space to reflect, and that space might just make all the difference. My advice to you, keep your peace as your top priority. If she's meant to be in your life, she'll recognize that strength. So take a step back when needed, and let her see your value without the chase. If this video spoke to you, share it with someone who might need a reminder. Drop a comment, let me know when you learned the power of not chasing. I'd love to hear your story. Until next time, stay grounded, stay strong, stay stoic.